Now, Town of Oliver Springs Council meeting to order. Joe, would you lead us in prayer, please? Everyone, please stand. Call the roll first. Please. Call the roll.
Robert Miller.
Here.
Jeff Bass.
Here.
Kenny Brown.
Here.
Jason Steltner. Jeff Denton.
Here.
James Brummett. Here.
All stand and remove your hats. Gentlemen.
Our Father, we approach the throne of grace with love and appreciation for all the things that you have done. We thank you for that. We pray that you would give these men wisdom and the employees of the city wisdom as to how to manage the resources that you have given us. And although sometimes we feel like we don't have much, we have great abundance of resources to serve you. We pray for the world situation, the war in Ukraine, that the Holy Spirit would be invited into the hearts and minds and souls of the participants on both sides and the various other nations that are on the sideline, where that peace could be reached, the resolution could be made as far as the difficulty and problems that are incurring on both sides. We pray for our nation as we approach the election season, that you would give us men and women and leaders and citizens that turn to you rather than turn to cell phones and all the other distractions and all the other things that will pull us away from you. We ask all these things in thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Join us in the pledge, please. Yes. Move the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You be seated. Thank you, Brad. You all right?
Ready for the minutes for it to be approved.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Motion made by Bass, second by Mr. Denton. Any additions, subtractions, or anything? Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Brummett. Yeah. Passed.
Citizens, time for citizens to come forward. State your name, the address, please, and your purpose.
Hi, I'm Kayla Simon. I'm the new Executive Director for ASAP of Anderson. I live at 5000 Western Avenue in Knoxville, but I work at 131 South Charles Severs Boulevard in Clinton. I just wanted to introduce myself to y'all, and I'm really excited to serve Anderson County.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for serving. Anybody else? No? Well, my update is still going to be limited because we got so much going on, but it's going to be covered in the presentation by the city manager, most of it. I'd still like to tell our workers that we appreciate what their work and what they're doing, and citizens that's abiding by most of the rules on cleanup, et cetera. It's a job. The spring cleanup's going on pretty well. How much we picked up, Rusty? Several tons?
About 30-yard dumpster loads of just garbage.
Yeah. We're going to modify that, I think. We've talked about a little bit next year, maybe, and have additional pickup for different items or something, because when you try to pick up brush, refrigerators, stoves, mattresses, and everything the same day, it's different stuff. We'll have the council have to get together and have a meeting and decide what we're going to do there. We appreciate the citizens mowing the property lines of the road in most cases. That saves us a lot of mowing, weeding, and if you live, especially in Norwood, most yards are cleaned up to the road, and the property line will go quite to the road, so we appreciate that. And any litter help you can give us, we appreciate that. We seem like we're doing a little better on that, I think, as far as paper, et cetera. But we'll keep on doing what we're doing, and if you see somebody do it, discourage them from doing it. That's all I have right now. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, as you all know, the street crew has been working on spring cleanup all around town. If you have a pile that needs to be picked up, you're more than welcome to call City Hall and they will put you on a list. Also, the streets crew has completed the installation of the new basketball goals down at the Arrowhead Park. The first day that they went up, I think there was a game, and there were already kids playing basketball, so we're very happy about that. And we're gonna get those striped and the court layout as soon as we get some clear weather. We're just waiting on the weather to break, so a couple of days to let the paint dry and let it get dry. And let's see here. Also, we have a list of potholes that are being fixed inside of your packet. The professional asphalt crew is out. We've been doing a lot of soul searching about that, and we're gonna come up with a way so that we can start doing that ourselves and working together as the water crew, the streets crew, and get everything like the water cuts and everything, because there is a cost to them coming out, and we're looking at ways we can cut costs, and if we can, we can. So we're gonna present that in a little while. Also, as we discussed last meeting, the mayor was able to find a possible grant for the city garage through John Reagan's office. I reached out to them today, but I haven't heard back. They're supposed to go over and get the see if that is what it's going to be, the $75,000 for the $150,000 upgraded city garage. I've also got with the municipal bond fund to see about borrowing money. It will be a split between water and streets. So if the grant does come through with $75,000, then it'll be around 30-something thousand from streets, 30-something thousand from water and sewer for a 30-foot by 150-foot replacement garage that they have now, which is a pole barn, and it'll be all metal. And that's all I have right now.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, sir. I took this office many, many years ago, and I made an oath to the people of this town to manage their monies. Looking at this budget, and I went over this budget for the last 6 weeks, and it's made me sick at the amount of spending that's been done and overspending that's been done. We, as elected individuals, are held liable for this, because you make an oath to the town that you manage the people's monies, and this is not managed. When you got, let me just pull one here. When you're over 1,696 cents per 96% on a line item, and when you've got to do over $100,000 in budget amendments to make that budget balance, there's something bad wrong.
Okay, I'll comment on that a little bit.
No, wait, let me get through.
Okay, go ahead.
I have sat on this council. I was first elected in '06. And I have seen these budgets, but I have never seen a budget that's been shot all to pieces like this one. It's like we gave open POs, run and get whatever you want, wherever you want. It don't matter the cost. And we're held liable for that.
Let me answer it when you get finished.
Okay.
Every line item on there is not going to come out exactly on that line item.
Right, but there's no excuse, Mayor, for having to do over $100,000 budget amendment.
Okay, we could wait as things happen and make a budget, I guess, but if you're forecasting a budget, you can't do that. So,
Well, yeah, that's why every year you add so much.
well, I think if you'll come down to the budget meeting, that'll be explained by line number, every line number when we have our workshop.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I think what I'm telling you, Mr. Miller, is that budget is a budget, like it is. It's a forecasted budget.
Right, I have a household budget.
We've done this the same way every year, and I don't think we've overspent that much as far as giving out let them walk out by what they want to.
Well, I don't ever remember doing a $100,000 budget amendment at one time.
Where did you see the $100,000 we're gonna make?
It's right here on the back. It's $107,000. We're over, and we've got to.
The budget amendment we made in June, a final budget amount. A line number might go way over on one, and it'll be real short on the other. I think it's in April is a little early to say that. With 3 more months left, you got a whole quarter
You've only
left.
got 3 months left of
You got 3 months
a
left.
physical year.
That's correct. And most, as I stated earlier, all those taxes and stuff come in, business taxes and stuff comes in June.
Right, but you're gonna have.
Mona, you back there still? I can't see from
Yes, I'm
people's
here.
hands. Would you stand up, please, or come forward just a minute? What do you estimate the June, did you think it'll level out in June?
That all the taxes are leveled out?
Not by line number, but total amount.
Well, it's a possibility it can, but we've got to slow down our spending in order to keep
And that's
that
what we said
revenues
we were
catch
gonna do,
up.
right? That statement's been made?
Yes, and Robert Miller is 100% right. This is a very bad budget. It has been busted out the.
But we've all done that,
I
and
100%
it's,
agree with him, and I take full responsibility for
No,
it.
you don't need to take
And
that.
the thing is that we've gotten a lot done, and every dollar that was ever spent has been for the citizens. It's been for either repairs or things breaking. It's not been for anything frivolous. It's been for the citizens. And this budget may have been made too small. Maybe we didn't know that, gas prices were gonna double. Or we didn't know that parts and pieces were gonna go up, or that gravel was gonna go up, or anything that goes on a truck was gonna go up. Every item that we purchase has gone up, and the budget is out of sorts, 100%. And that's why I wanted to present it to you guys and give it to you guys tonight, because we are gonna be building a budget pretty soon, and we can't make that same mistake. We
I agree the
probably,
numbers you have on the sheet is outlined up to this year, up to now. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I haven't studied it in detail today. I had the last couple of days, not today, because we went over again today, he did, to put some numbers down. But it's not as bad as it looked, and it's bad as it's been this bad or worse before.
No, not
I've
since.
got every one of them in my desk, just like this, big long sheets.
Yeah, but not since I've been on council, I've never seen one this.
I was on it before you, and I've seen a couple.
Right, and I've seen a lot of mistakes that were done prior years too.
But I don't think it's any worse than it was, other than it's jumping, it's a 7.8% higher than we were first of the year already. Because governments, the money's coming in, the monies that we're forecasting. That's what's caused, this was made before we knew it was gonna jump up, the spending was gonna jump, the price was gonna
But
jump.
if you remember, when this budget was made, we were told there was a cushion built into this budget.
Well, we didn't think there was gas was gonna go from $1.79 to $5 a quarter either.
Yep, still $107,531. It's gotta come out of the unappropriated fund balance
well, as of
right
right now,
now.
That's why you have it on the front.
as of right now, it may be less because we still have local sales tax coming in and state sales tax coming in for 3 months, and spending has been ground to a halt.
But the
So it should
governor,
catch up.
and I do believe it's in May, is gonna be tax-free. It's gonna be a sales-free tax month.
That's what I started to say, we are gonna lose out on some sales tax money on that. But the gross receipts
yeah,
tax money,
that's
you're talking about the
what- yeah.
business taxes, they do come in, the majority of that does come in June.
Yeah, he signed that bill.
Okay, but
Because as of right now, the local sales tax and the county
Thank
sales
you.
Thank
tax
you, Ramona.
is up right now, and that'll help offset that if that keeps coming in. But if they do that, that's gonna hurt even more.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
I don't come to the budget workshops because I don't have a vote. I don't think it's my job description to come to the budget workshops and so on. But just like it's y'all's not job description to come to city court and do the things the city judge does, because I wear 2 hats. But I've been down here since 1985, and you have budgets that are accurately projected and the revenues collected, and you have budgets that may not be as accurate based on inflation, specifically today, and COVID. For example, if you have a $100,000 line item in your budget and it deals with petroleum products, you might figure that the budget line item that was estimated last year, $100,000, by the time the end of the fiscal year comes, it's going to be $120,000 because the inflation for the petroleum products based on the war in Ukraine and the environmental policies of the current administration are driving the price of petroleum sky high. And see, petroleum is in plastics, so see that leads into your water department with the plastic water lines, medicine, food products, packaging, a lot of building materials that we use. And I'm not saying Mr. Miller's right or wrong. I'm just simply saying that we're human and we cannot predict with 100% accuracy right now what next year's income and expenses would be. Now, having said that, I realize we might be spending more than we're taking in. And I also realize too that the 6 men and the mayor and the city manager that sit on council have budget workshops in the spring. And see, part of the responsibility of the councilman is to attend these budget workshops and have input and get information from the city workers as to what they might need or what they might not need and so on like that. Where you have to increase line items or cut line items, what's absolutely necessary and what's absolutely not. So when there is a budget that may not be the most satisfactory, the bottom line is it stops with town council collectively. And if you have a budget workshop and 2 council members show up, you have a budget workshop and the other 4 may not have input, they may be out of town, they may be illness, there could be a lot of reasons. But basically, it's the town council's job, with input from the city manager and others, to craft this budget. And then it's up to town council and the city manager and the workers to implement the budget. And I've been self-employed since 1978, and I can't guarantee you how much I'll collect as a lawyer because I have never had a steady paycheck until I got on Social Security when I was 67. And see, the town is just like being self-employed. You may make $500,000 in sales tax revenue in 1 month and go 4 months without collecting but $10,000, $20,000 a month. So you got to be a good manager, and that falls upon the city manager as well as town council members, to a certain extent the city finance officer and so on like that. So it's good to call attention to it, but at the same time the solution is in the budget workshops for the next year.
And we'll be having one.
Oh, yeah, we're actually scheduled.
You'll have probably 3 or 4.
We'll have a
Historically,
workshop.
because you'll have a water department workshop, you have a general fund workshop, and maybe another fund workshop, and work through this to figure out what you can afford and what you can't afford.
I guess what I should say, it's good to have a 3-month warning, as you've done, and that's good to trail it and tasking us to the task. But when we get to represent the final budget, then it's your time to say, I don't believe that's right, and I'm going to do this. I suggest cutting this. I suggest increasing this. But I don't think this is time to be criticized by anybody.
Well, I'm not criticizing, I'm just letting the taxpayers know that the money's going out the door faster than it's coming in.
Well, you're telling them 3 months early when we haven't made all the collections. That bottom
No,
number down
these
there.
papers don't lie, this is current.
Well, that's current, but if you look at your total money that was approved in the beginning of the year, how much we would estimate taking in, we haven't got to the point yet to make that equal.
No, but you're already 107,000
Well,
in the red.
it can recover in 3 months, but we don't know how much, or it can go worse in 3 months. We don't know how much.
We have overspent, but we've also over-collected too.
That's
So
correct.
we don't know what it's going to be
People's
like
paying more
until
for
they're
gas and that,
very close to
and
the end. But
groceries
we
are
have
paying more tax,
stopped
too.
all spending.
We actually projected back a year and a half ago when the COVID lockdowns hit, I felt like we would lose maybe 10 or 20% of our revenue through sales tax. And my prediction was 100% wrong, because we actually got 10 or 20% more, because people were going out and buying things at Home Depot and Ace Hardware and places like that to do renovation because they didn't work. You had the stimulus money came in, and the sales tax revenue was actually stronger, as I recall, during the COVID crisis than it was before the COVID crisis. So sometimes it's difficult to project and predict this. It's not a mathematical formula, it's kind of an art where you have to use your experience from last year's budget, the last several years' budgets, for example, and what you might anticipate spending in the future. Some of our spending is mandated by federal government, state government, where we don't have any choice in the matter. If they come in and say we got to spend $50,000 for some kind of seminar, whatever it might be for our employees, we got to spend it. Just like they require the water board people to attend that 8-hour, 16-hour seminar for free, because they figure the water board will pay you, and the water board's not going, the town's not going to pay you any more. Federal government mandated, that's called an unfunded mandate. And we get those.
And there's one other thing that I have to double check on, but this is what I was told just recently. Remember the $1.01 million of the ARP money that we're getting? That can go towards budget shortfalls. So let me double check that. So I don't think that it is, at first it was very restricted, but it has changed as it has evolved.
Well, it's a point well taken, and we're just gonna have to play it day by day and do the best we can not to spend any more money than we have to, absolutely have to, and we'll see how it works out. And there's money there, and we're not gonna go bankrupt, but I remember sitting watching TV on a show several years ago, when Mr. Justice was so proud to announce the city had $100,000 on that.
I can remember the time when we had to borrow money to pay payroll.
Yeah, that's not happened so recently, in the last 10 to 20 years, I know of.
Yeah.
But I think we did the best we could when we presented the budget first after that this year, based on the past, that we compare the budgets to, and try to make adjustments where adjustments need to be made during the year. And we're not modifying the budget every month like we used to either. We used to.
Yeah, you used to see where everything was going.
Yeah, so right now it looks a lot worse than what it is, I think. I know it's there, and I know that we got 3 more months of collections.
Our auditors require the budget amendments because the comptroller's office requires that the fiscal year end budget balance. And if we're short, say we're short $50,000 because we spent more than we brought in, then in the next year we have to increase the next year's budget by 50 to cover last year's deficit. And see, that's not what we want to do. That's what the comptroller's office requires based on state law and rules and regulations. So there's just a lot of bureaucracy and overlay with these budgets that might make it easier in one sense of the word, might make it harder in another sense of the word, to figure out what the budget needs to be and then collect the revenue in order to be able to spend the money to provide the services.
Well, and two, when they did there hasn't been a tax increase in years, and we're not asking for one, but, we try to be good stewards as we can with the city's money.
People's in enough hurt now without.
Yeah, I'm not recommending one, but that's the solution, because, how do you not fix a pothole? How do you not fix a broken guard on a rail? How do you not do what needs to be done? So it's a tightrope you have to walk. It's equivalent to going to the grocery store with a calculator. You put something in, you might got to put something back. It's hard to pick what to put
Well,
in.
another consideration is the state will reimburse the city for the work on Tri-County Boulevard at a fixed rate. And that fixed rate does not include inflation. And so if it costs us, say, $50 to fix the pothole last year, it may cost $150 to fix the pothole now. And the state last year don't reimburse $40 because we'd have to absorb part of the cost. And now they pay us $40 and we got to absorb, instead of $10 the cost, $110 the cost. Now I can't say that absolutely, but there are many principles where we get reimbursed by various governments, but not our full cost. And see, all those things can gobble up your budget in a hurry when you've got a 7% inflation. Now, I rather suspect, like I mentioned, for petroleum products, it may be 10 or 20%.
I think today inflation is 7.8%. We call it, right?
Yeah, we checked it.
And as a footnote, Russia and Ukraine produce a third of the world's wheat and grain. When there's war going on, the world has lost a third of the production, so food costs are probably going to go up about 30% over the next year, and maybe longer, even if the war ended today, because the fields and the equipment's been destroyed by war. So, you know, the world itself is going to be impacted by this war in the Ukraine on a far deeper basis than what most people realize. And see, that'll translate into us too, because we got to buy this stuff as the city. We don't necessarily buy food.
I was trying to say, we're in
Like
the
house-
food business, not the food business,
Yeah.
except for inmates.
And
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, every city is going through this exact same thing. We're not alone in this. This is
Everyone we
every
talked to has.
city, yes.
And we
And
talked to
everyone
the
is-
Tuesday, we talked to 3 of them.
Yeah, and everyone is going through this exact same thing.
And again, I appreciate your concern, and all of us should be concerned, because this is the citizens' money. They pay taxes on, they pay us to do it, job, and not a lot, but they elect us to do a job. And we hope and pray that we come close.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Robert. I'm scared too. This is.
I can tell you, as a small business owner, and I do mean small, it has impacted us just in fuel, $14,000 a year. And that doesn't come out of a budget that I can move money from. That comes out of Jeff Denton's paycheck.
Or you can't get to Oak Ridge.
And it's
Okay,
not
anything
just
else?
fuel.
Yeah, I'd like to show my appreciation for the fellers that's cleaned up the messes I've seen piled along the neighborhoods and the roads this week. They've done a real good job, and I'm real proud of them. And I'd like to thank Chief and the police department. We had to go out of town a couple of weekends ago for my youngest granddaughter, and they kind of came around the house and kept an eye on the house and my father-in-law and his sitters while we were out of town. I'd like to thank them for doing that. And, that's all I got, sir. I'll shut up for now.
Thanks, sir. Chris?
I also like to thank the employees for the cleanup. Town's looking pretty good. And we've had, you know, the potholes, we're working on those. I've had some calls about the potholes, and I've looked at the list, and the other places, the people's calls, and they're on the list. So we need to kind of get onto that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Brown?
I'm past nothing right now.
Okay. Jeff?
I have some.
We're right on.
Easement for the rear of Kingston Avenue property over here across from the high school. We take responsibility of the road. We've taken responsibility of the water lines and sewer lines. And it's my position that when we did that, we took responsibility of the easements. We have somebody that wants to develop that property in front of the high school to the tune of over $1 million. And he would like to have easements from Bernie Drive to the back side of that property. And I'm making a motion to allow the property owners on that end to have easement access from Bernie Drive to their property.
I think if that, Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, we would have to have a public hearing on that, correct?
Well, I'm intimately familiar with that because the businessman has talked to me, had numerous meetings with city officials over that issue. In the town, there's a strip of property that's several feet wide that runs, I guess, south of Bernie Drive to the property that this businessman owns, and that's owned by the housing authority. And with all due respect to Mr. Denton's motion, the town has no authority to give an easement over property it does not own. And if your thought that the town owns that in some way that can give an easement, I would recommend before the town executing the documents that the town hire a title lawyer, I can't represent the city, to do a title opinion on the property in question and give us a written opinion as to who would have the authority to execute the easement. From my dealings with the property, what has happened is that the property owners asked the local housing authority board for an easement and they sent it to Nashville. and it's got swallowed in a black hole in Nashville because it's low priority and so on, and the staff down there is not interested in moving it forward. If that's not the case, the staff down there may not feel like it's appropriate for the housing authority to give easements over its property to private owners. And so therefore, no answer, no response is the answer they're giving rather than putting it in writing. And the way you deal with the bureaucracy, and I realize this is difficult if not impossible to do, is you drive down there and park on their doorstep every day and say, I want an answer, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And you know, you just keep, and you talk to Mr. A and he doesn't help you, let me speak to your supervisor. Mr. B doesn't help you, let me speak to your supervisor. And see, in this day and age, these supervisors hide behind voicemail. You send them texts. You know, that's why if you can't get your hands, figuratively speaking, around their throat, they can hide behind the technology and not deal with you. I'm terribly sympathetic, and I agree in principle with Mr. Denton's efforts and the businessman's efforts. I think it would be quite advantageous to that neighborhood down there. But looking at it from a legal standpoint, my understanding of it, the town doesn't own that property. Now, yes, the town, when the housing authority dedicated Bernie Drive and the water and sewer lines, they dedicated to the town. The town does own Bernie Drive. The town does own probably the sidewalks. The town does own the water and sewer lines, even though all this might have been built by the federal government back in the 70s when the housing authority was built. But there is a strip of 3 or 4 feet that runs from the curb, southern side of Bernie Drive, over to the northern property lines of these properties in question. It's a 3 or 4 foot strip, but town doesn't own it.
Did we not have an agreement that if they got it surveyed, that they could buy the land?
Yeah, that's where it's at right now, is that they're waiting on the business owner to get a survey of the property to them, is how I understand it. The last thing they're waiting on is
Now, who is them?
From the housing authority?
the housing authorities, the housing
Not
authority,
FEMA, but
the housing authority's boss is who they're waiting on.
And they're in Nashville. Okay.
Yeah, but I think they're holding on the
but they've agreed if they could get a survey and give them a
Had they agreed in writing?
Well, they did, I think, but not to us. Did they agree it to the housing authority in writing?
I don't know. She's given the process, and there's supposed to be approvals because there's like a bunch of layers to the federal government.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The
And
thing about that, even though we accepted the road, the deed was made out to the end of their property, that property there where it was a farm or whatever it was before, right?
Well, as I recall, the backside of those lots in question was Indian Creek. And when the channel of Indian Creek was moved, I don't know, 100 yards or so to the north, they created a plane by which they could build those buildings, and they made a new driveway. They came off of Kingston Avenue near where the railroad track used to be, where Miss Dedrick's house is, or was. She was my 3rd grade teacher. She's passed away now. But it circles back around and comes out past the high school near the Poplar Creek Bridge. You can see all that property was bought, probably condemned by TVA and transferred to the housing authority to build those houses. And see, when you dedicate a subdivision like that, you dedicate the streets and the water and the sewer lines to the government, to the local government, which is the town. You build in town specifications, then they owned by the government, owned by the town. And there's a 4 or 5 foot strip that the town doesn't own.
Do we need to take this to Tony Cronin and order and research and what?
I mean, there's
Now, if the
there's
town
some-
wanted to take
there's some
action,
symbolic stuff you could do, which is that the town could be in approval of him getting the land.
yeah, the town could vote in support of that,
That could
yes.
go for his behalf when it does get surveyed to
I
them.
think that would be the way to go.
Yeah. Now, the next step is the town could appropriate money and hire the title lawyer to give them a legal opinion upon which we could provide that to the housing authority or whatever it may be. Because I have not done a title opinion on it as a lawyer, and my analysis might be wrong because I haven't seen all the documentation. Because it'd take 3 or 4 hours to research all that, and maybe even longer, because that was done in the late 60s, I guess, early 70s, based on memory. But that would be, that'd be $500 or $1,000 out of our budget, and we spent 30 minutes talking earlier about how we're short funded on budgets. There's a solution to this, and it's just how much time and resources the town.
We've been on it
wishes to
so
devote to.
long already. We thought we had it figured out a year ago almost,
Yeah,
and it didn't work. And, see, those property owners that's left there, their deed goes back too. I've got a copy of them in there, but it's their old property deeds. But their property deeds, that's the latest thing they got.
well, it's TVA, I'm sure when TVA condemned that property, they had a survey through there.
They did. Yes,
And the survey can be a page long, and you've got to have a surveyor's license to plot it out. There's a map somewhere, probably in TVA's archives or in the Housing Authority's archives in Nashville. If you get a copy of that map, the map of the roadway is probably recorded in the Roane County Register of Deeds office. Because when you develop a subdivision, you record the plat, and the recording of the plat conveys the roads and the water and sewer and the easements 5 feet either side of the boundary lines for drainage and utilities to the local government, which in this case is the town.
So how would he grant a motion, or he would board a motion on that if we,
Well, Mr. Benson's motion's on the floor, and it needs to have a second, or it will fail due to lack of a second.
that's true.
If there's a second, then you vote on the motion. If it fails due to lack of a second, then Mr. Denton or others would be free to make another motion.
I just want to.
And the cheapest thing for the town to do would be to make the motion to go into support of this property owner, and for the purpose of the minutes, he should be named, because we could take an excerpt of the minutes and send it to the Housing Authority and ask them to expedite it.
That's where I want to go.
I'll amend my motion to that.
All right.
Okay. So the motion is as amended to,
Support
where did Joe or you, how you want it treated?
that we would, that county council would support an
The
easement,
developer?
the developer in granting easements to the backside of those properties.
Okay.
I'll make a second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any more
Okay,
discussion?
I did.
Mr. Miller? Any more
That's fine.
discussion?
Yeah, how many pieces of property are we talking, two different projects?
There's several that.
About 3 or 4.
I think he's got 4.
He
I think
tore
so.
houses down just to clean it up so
Yeah.
that the high school kids didn't come out and see dilapidated houses and think, this is our future.
But the easement is on the backside, that's correct?
Correct.
It's between the road and the back.
What the developer wants to do is have a driveway that goes across the lot from Kingston Avenue to Bernie Drive, so that, you know, you would drive through rather than have to stop and then back out and turn around.
Well, then, is that gonna take away the parking from the people over there that live in that housing project?
No, because the south side of Bernie Drive has no parking.
Right.
I think the parking is so structured in cul-de-sacs around the 6 or 8 buildings there, because a lot of them are duplexes, and you got parking on one end and parking on the other.
The Housing Authority is in agreement with what we're doing, they're just not
They are.
expediting
Yeah,
the,
they've got to get the bureaucracy in Nashville to agree.
yeah. They're, okay, any more discussion? Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Bass,
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Jeff Denton,
Yes.
James Brummett. Yes. Passed.
Okay,
Just
That's all
one
I
more
have.
thing, but one more thing, is that it?
okay, Mr. Brown, you have anything?
Nothing this time.
Okay.
Mayor?
Pardon?
There's 2 more things. One, I think Blake Leach may be in the audience because in the last planning commission meeting, he was rezoned his property.
Blake, you want to come forward and stand up here, please, and say your name and address? I didn't recognize you back there, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I would announce you as you came in, sir, if I'd known.
You're good, you're good.
My name's
Okay.
Blake Leach, I live at 109 Aspen Lane.
Okay, do you want me to speak on it a little bit?
You can if you want.
He's a member of the planning commission, so he was leery about this redevelopment. He wanted to change the zoning, where there was a small portion of his property was zoned commercial,
Yeah,
and he wanted to
industrial,
change it to R.
residential,
What's the street address of his property?
off Bass Street.
Okay. Do you have a street number?
There's no physical
No
address.
building yet, he's developing it.
Yeah,
That big chunk of land up there.
But there's what, 13, 20 acres, is it?
31.
Yeah, 31 acres there. Anyway,
North of Cold Tip.
it
What's an old
passed,
coal temple?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's.
it passed the planning commission and they suggested it comes to the council for approval.
Yep.
Normally, the MTOS would have a resolution or an ordinance that would describe it by tax map and parcel number, maybe with some type of computer-generated map.
Well, she does, she's gotta get it, but it's coming down from, nobody can survey right now. I don't even think it's been currently surveyed, not a current.
What I bought has been surveyed, yes.
Yeah. Okay, he had the map, you had the map with you, I
I
think.
did, yeah.
He can bring it down and,
Well, from my standpoint, in recording the minutes, it would be better to have something in writing that these gentlemen could see to vote on. But having said that, if the will of the council would be to make a motion second to pass this as an ordinance to be supplied later on, either one would work.
I'll make a motion that the ordinance be supplied later on.
Okay.
Second.
got a motion, we got a second. Any more discussion? Everybody's familiar with the property, I mean, it's been there 100,000 years.
And that's to rezone the property from industrial to commercial?
R2, residential.
Okay, R2.
R2.
Is all those steeples or coal, whatever that used in there, is it all gone?
There's a hopper and some conveyor belts left.
Is that gonna be something that
That belongs to you now too, don't it?
Yeah.
belongs to you now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it belonged to his grandpa before.
that's correct.
Is that gonna be removed, or you just gonna leave it there?
Might scrap it,
Okay.
might scrap it.
Okay, any more discussion?
Now, you want it rezoned to R2?
Correct.
Is that multi-dwelling?
Yeah, but I'd only build just one home to start.
He'll have to come forward to each individual
Yeah.
thing if you guys want to. Okay, anybody else? Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller?
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass?
Yes.
Kenny Brown?
Yes.
Jeff Denton?
Yes.
James Ryan? Yes. Passed.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And as a footnote, sometimes these things are slow. A year from now, this rises and we don't have an ordinance in the minutes because it doesn't get drafted. You know, the vagueness of the motion could work against him as a landowner at some point in the future.
I'll get you a map.
So we need to have a written ordinance. MTOS needs to
Yeah, we got
have the planning commission sign and date
Yeah.
that the ordinance was passed to be submitted to town council, because lots of times we take that identical ordinance from passed by planning commission and put our ordinance number on it and pass it here.
See, the property is there and the property is on our maps as commercial. All we're doing is changing it to residential. So that all the other stuff is really unnecessary.
Well, when you say part
Been
of
on the
Bass
planning
Street
commission for
property,
6 or 8 years.
when you say part of Bass Street property,
No, it's not part of Bass Street. It exits off, the road exits off of Bass Street.
well, see, Mr. Leach said it was on Bass Street
It's
for the minutes.
His
And what I'm trying to
address
do-
will have to be on Bass Street because there was no street past there.
Well, that's the point I'm making, because if it's not on Bass Street, but that's his closest street, where's the property boundaries for the purpose of rezoning? Because we have to
At
have
the courthouse.
the
We'll get you a
boundaries.
copy of
We
it.
have to have the boundaries for our zoning map. MTOS has to draw our zoning map.
Well, we can stay here and argue this thing till tomorrow. I promise you on my wheel that I'll get you a copy.
Blake,
I
you
will
gonna bring
let
a
you.
copy of that?
I'll bring it.
Thank you, buddy.
After that, it's there, it's just, I told you, we had the people we pay $7,000 a year here at the meeting doing all this, and it's.
So I just don't want to, I've done enough title work, and this is the kind of thing that can stop a loan at some point in the future, because it's not
He's not money, he ain't gonna borrow money.
It can stop a sale too.
Yeah, I know, it's, I'm not being facetious, Joe,
Okay.
I'm just
I'm
picking at
just
you a little
being
bit.
extra cautious.
Who else we missing that wasn't on the agendas?
That's
Mr.
it.
Manager, anybody else?
I got nothing else.
Okay. Mr. Chief of Police, you got anything?
Yeah, the only thing I have is I have one vehicle, it's the 2008 Ford Crown Vic, it's our last one, I need to surplus that vehicle. It's no longer in use, and I'd like to have permission to auction it off.
That's a
Make a
Mercury.
motion.
Motion by Bass,
Mercury or
second.
Ford?
Ford.
Motion by Bass, second by Denton. Any more discussion on access to the vehicle?
You gonna sell it to Gov Deals?
Yes, sir.
Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Jeff Denton,
Yes.
James Brummett. Yes. Passed.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you, when y'all go deal those off, how do they determine the percentage that's paid to Gov Deals and
So we pay nothing to Gov Deals.
right,
So
the buyer
whatever,
pays?
whatever it auctions for is our money. Whoever buys it has to pay 12.5% over to Gov Deals. We pay nothing to them.
12% over the
Yeah,
bid.
so if you bid for mine,
price.
if you bid for one of our vehicles that we auction and it goes for 10,000, we get 10,000. They have to pay 12.5 more on that to pay for the Gov Deals.
Fire pays,
So we had one vehicle that we surplused, that technically was not ours, that was given to us through that Dermo program from the Sunbright Police Department. You might have seen the Hummer sitting out front of the police department. That was a vehicle awarded to Sunbright Police Department. During the process, they disbanded that police department and they gave us that Hummer because it had to be another agency on the 1033 program. So they sent me the title to it, I believe, last week or week before, and told me it was ready for auction to go ahead and sell it since it wasn't, basically, dermoed in our name. So we auctioned it off and it sold tonight right before the meeting for a little over, I think it's $10,090. And so they will have to pay 12.5% over the 10,000. So we'll get $10,090 next week when they come to pick it up.
That's not the budget.
Yeah, that'll go to general fund. That's an excess.
Sorry about that.
Are we gonna depart with the missile launcher we got sitting over at City Garage?
I'm trying my best. That's one, this Hummer that we sold was one of the ones sitting next to it. If you saw it, had the police on the side of it. It's never been operational. We've never used it. And that's what we auctioned off this week. However, the Hemet, the 8x8 vehicle that's over there, was the other vehicle gave to us with Sunbright. Both of those vehicles were issued to Sunbright PD. When they abolished Sunbright, the 1033 program called and says, hey, we've got to move all this stuff. Y'all are the closest ones. Will you do a favor and take it? So we took it and parked it there. The Hemet is nothing that we can ever sell to the general public because it is not roadworthy. So I've asked what I can do with it, and the only recommendation they have gave me in Nashville is I can either bring it back to Nashville, which would be a huge expense. I would not recommend driving it to Nashville. Or two, we can find another agency that wants it. So I've been talking to anyone that I can that could find any kind of use for it. Nashville has put it out to several agencies that was looking for high water vehicles. We're going to eventually find another agency that wants it and I'll get it going in, but outside of returning it to the military, we don't have any other options because it's strictly military only vehicle. So I'll get rid of it as soon as I can. It is an eyesore and we'll do something with it.
Great vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, we vote yet?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
We did vote, huh?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Y'all turn on these long conversations here, excuse me, money. No, I'm kidding. Okay, any new business? Fire chief? He's not here on the thing. Well, there she is.
I'm not
He's not here.
No, I'm April. I'm a training officer.
Yes.
We are hosting a 64-hour class this week, so that's where Justin is.
Okay.
We don't have anything
You don't
to
have
report.
anything?
No, sir.
Appreciate you coming by. Okay, any other people from the audience need that I missed earlier or that was late? Late, you got anything? Okay. Any old business? New business? No new business, old business? Nobody's got any business, right? I need a motion to adjourn now.
So moved.
Oh, wait,
Oh, wait.
we got some new business on there.
New business.
Item
Well,
A,
buddy, somebody speak up.
You got one of them papers in front of you that tells us
Yeah.
what we're talking about?
Cover
Yeah.
page for the.
You didn't have a cover sheet. Okay, here you go.
Right there in front of
You remember that? Discussion and possibly approve adding the state of Tennessee deferred compensation plan at 401K or the 457B. You want to explain them? We did
Yes,
this
sir.
once, but
Yes,
do it again.
yes, thank you, Mayor. What this is for the employees. This is in addition to the retirement plan. This is something offered by the state that is free to the city. It has no cost. The only cost will be we've got to type in who wants to contribute to it. So you have to type them in. That's the only cost is somebody has to do that. It's a 401k, and it's also a 457B. Basically, it's a free service from the state that is an option to the city employees, and I'd like it if they could do that, if y'all would.
I'll
see
make a
fit.
motion that we adopt it.
Second.
A motion second. Passing then. Any more, anybody got any comments?
Yes, sir.
Say something? You?
It also says in there that the city can match up to 3% on that.
You can, if you choose to. As of right now, we choose not to, unless
So
you,
we will pay, in no time will we pay matching monies to what they put in.
not at no time. If you change your mind or you want to, you can at any time, but as of right now, there is no matching, no cost to the city.
But do you have to back up to day one until they start
It's
putting in?
stipulated that there's no match.
Yeah, there is no match. And I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the cost of living for the TCRS,
Right.
which that one is
Would be
a whole
called the
different
same.
animal. This one is you would not have to do, like say if 10 years go by and people have been putting in $100 a week or something, and then all of a sudden the council wanted to do a match, they can do a match, because that's in the stock market growing, around mutual funds or however you have it invested. And so if you choose to do a match, you can, but there is no having to go back. That was with the cost of living with our TCRS plan, and Senator Yeager has met with the Treasury Secretary for the city, and as of right now, the legislation is set up in such a way for the TCRS plan, the other issue, that there's nothing nobody can do about it. You have to pay that lump sum, or you leave it as is. He has said that he's going to make the right legislation to change that for Oliver Springs during the next legislation cycle to help us.
So we'll grandfather back.
Well, we'll have to pay, if the body chooses, y'all could choose to pay those last 20 years, but moving forward for the next 20 years on as if you did it back then. So it'd be like a time payment. So if you choose to do that for the employees, you could. If you choose not to, you could, but he's gonna change the legislation so that it's possible. Because right now, you gotta pay a lump sum. And you can't borrow for that lump sum. You have to just pay
Pretty
it
good lump
cash.
sum also.
So he's going to change the legislation to allow time payments on that. Because right now, it was changed maybe a year or two ago that you couldn't do a borrow or a time payment. You had to do a lump sum cash because it is a long-term debt obligation. So they made some changes legislative-wise, but he's going to change it to help us. So he's on our side. And then the body can choose to do it or not to do it. It's your call. But at least it'll be available to do, and it may help in other cities too. But with this one's just a 401k where you put money in and it goes into the market and it grows or falls,
Right.
however the market's doing. But you don't have to. You could do 3%, but you can't exceed 3%. But you can do 0%, which is what this is. This is $0. Unless the employees can put in for it, then it's their money.
Is it gonna cost the city for the processing, the investors investing?
Oh,
Who
I see
pays
what you're
that
saying.
percentage of, who
The
pays all
employee
that
does.
percentage?
Yeah, like if you went with like Vanguard and started like an IRA, and you went with Vanguard, they would charge you like a 1%, to keep track of everything.
Charge the employee.
Yeah, but it's on the employee. And with these guys, I think it's like a 0.25%, so it's cheaper than Vanguard, and I think they get better returns than most things on the market because they do a good job. TCRS is a very healthy fund. I think they've got $65 billion in their TCRS fund in their war chest, and they're very diversified. But on the 401k and 457, I think it's a lot less. But the fees are smaller than if you were to go with Vanguard and get it like an IRA. And there'll be no money out of pocket for the city. We won't pay anything except for we're just part of this offer that they offer.
So we automatically deducted out of their checks.
Well, yeah, if I wanted to sign up and I was like, I want to put $10 a week in, they would automatically deduct that out and send it to them, and it would be pre-tax. So it'd be before it was taxed. So it'd be like the money was 22% bigger because it wouldn't have came out through
It would be on
taxes.
the gross.
Yeah. So it's a really good deal. It doesn't cost anything for the city, and it gives something that the employees can do. The other cities that I've talked to that have this say very few people even put in for it. So very few people even do it, but they want to, at least they'll have it.
I think it's a good benefit for the,
As a point of part of the procedure, you could amend the motion and say the town at this time and will make no contributions.
I'll amend it to that.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, call the roll, Joe, please. Anybody else want to comment? Okay, call the roll, please.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass,
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Jeff Denton,
Yes.
James Brown.
Discuss and possibly approve the correction of the computer time clock software in the police department in the amount of $33,791.82.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bass.
Second.
Second by Denton. Anybody want to comment or?
Yeah, somebody should have been held responsible for that.
Absolutely.
I mean, they slipped through, they got by scot-free.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
Well, I'll say at the time you're thinking, we knew nothing about it.
Is that what this sheet of paper is in the minutes here?
Yes, sir.
It is.
Okay.
And we found this out later,
Yeah.
but I agree with you.
Any more comments?
Is this a due date today, or
Yes.
do we have anything, we got no money to pay it?
We got
We got no choice.
I understand that, but I'm saying, that, you know, it took us this long to find it out, they can say we'll give it to you 90 days.
No, it's payable upon you receiving it in your hand.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's
They got no
fine.
choice.
This is like labor law stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't hold back on it.
No.
This was done by a third-party auditor that went through a box this big of paperwork, and they spent a lot of time on it. That's what's taking so long, was they were making it right.
What did we charge us to do that then?
I don't know, I don't remember. I haven't seen the bill yet.
So it could be more than, more.
This is amounts what we have
It
paid.
was a little over $2,000.
It was $2,000.
Dollars are not included in this, right?
No, this is just to pay the employees that
This is
were
the figures
short.
that you see in front of you.
Yeah, okay,
Okay?
I'm fine.
Anybody else? It's not pleasant, but it's, call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass,
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Brown. Yes. Passed.
Okay, now, has anybody else got anything before I dismiss? You got anything else that I missed?
It's been a full night.
Well, Joe, you got anything that I missed?
Motion to
You got
adjourn.
anything I missed? Buster, okay, you got anything?
I will say this, on behalf of the Rockwood Civitan Club, they're celebrating 100 years tomorrow at Rome State, 4 o'clock. The governor will be there at 5 to speak if you want to see the governor.
What do you got serving?
Well, I'm not in Civitan, I'm just making announcements.
Yeah, that'd be a good meeting to go to, I guess, but
Rome State Harriman Campus, yes.
it's only Friday's the only day I haven't had a meeting this week, so I don't think I'll go. And I got started out again Monday or Tuesday.
What time is it?
4 o'clock, and then the governor speaks at 5.
Okay, got a motion, got a second? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's the majority rule there, Joe.
Yes. I'll vote aye.
All right.